Well, hello, good listener. Welcome to a special bonus episode of World Gone Good. We are fast approaching Election Day here in the United States, so the question is, have you voted yet? Are you planning to vote on Election Day? Are you planning to vote at all? All right, now we don't want to get all political, right? You know, even though we've had a few politically themed episodes along the way, and this election has two very different choices, distinct choices for our future as a nation. So with that said, I am offering you a flashback reminder. I'm going all the way back to episode number 61, our 1-year anniversary show, which featured the return of our first 3 good guests ever, including CBS Sunday Morning contributor, my pal, Faith Salie. This is the 1 year later good story she shared then, and I think it's perfectly timed for the moment we find ourselves in right now. Take a listen. What has been good since we've last talked a year ago?
I could put it in buckets, and I could describe like macro good, and I could describe some kind of epiphanies I've had and be long-winded. And I've decided instead to tell you one really specific good thing that happened that I think is so dramatic and wonderful. And even in thinking about it today, before I knew I would talk to you, it moved me to tears again. So almost a year ago, the month that the show launched, October of 2020, at the end of that month, it was October 24th, I believe, we were seated outside, of course, COVID, at a place called Bread's Bakery on 63rd and Broadway, West 63rd, which, by the way, you should know is named Sesame Street. It was officially renamed Sesame Street. Because
Fantastic.
We were seated outside with my 104 and a half year old friend, Ruth Rosner. And Ruth is a salty, amazing friend. She says fuck a lot, which I love about her. She's fallibly spiritual. She's a secular Jew. She'd tell you she was raised like Marxist socialist, and she ran away from home when she was 20 to go join the Communist Party in Europe and kissed Ernest Hemingway on the boat over, and then came back because it wasn't really a great time to be a Jew there. And I'm just giving you this for color.
Sure.
And she's super political. Like she's sharp as a tack, and she knows more. I mean, she watches MSNBC. She loves Don Lemon. She knows more about politics than you or I. And her recall, if you were like, okay, name the senator from Indiana, she'd know both of them. And she got sober when she was a kid, as she says, which is when she was 73. And she runs 2 AA groups on Zoom. And she calls her groups All My Children. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Yeah. So she, ever since I met her, and I met her when she was 101, it was soon after Donald Trump became president, and she has been talking to me about incipient fascism in our country ever since then. And anytime you get into politics with her, she starts yelling, "Meet me at the barricades," and singing the, what's it called? Is it, the Internationale? How do you say that? Isn't that what it's called?
Yes. Yes.
The communist, it's like the communist fight song, the Internationale. And is it called the Marseillaise? The French.
That's the French. Yeah.
She'll sing that too. So
she's a walking Casablanca. Go ahead.
She is, and she needs a walker to walk.
Right.
So it was one of the first days that early voting had started in New York City. And we're right at Lincoln Center. We can see the fountains across the street. And there's a line around the block for people to vote right across the street. And I said to her, Ruth, do you want to vote? And she said, do I want to vote? Hell yeah, I want to vote. And I said, you know what? Come with me right now. She was like, well, I look at that line. I don't want to stay in that line. And I don't know about this. And I said, Ruth, you're 104 and a half years old. We're going right to the front of the line. So we get up, and some of the people, because Ruth always has like a coterie of friends around her. A few of them come with us. My husband, John, is there, and his dog, Corby, his dog, who ended up dying a few months later. So when I think about Corby being part of this experience, it makes me so happy. So John and his dog Corby, and my two kids, and my daughter, who is then 6, is holding Ruth's hand, and Ruth is 104 and a half. So she's holding her hand of her friend who's 98 years older. And my son is leading the way. Ruth gets up and walks faster across Broadway in her walker than I've ever seen her walk. She's got this hat that my daughter Minerva had decorated. It was like festooned with flowers. And as we're walking over, I have this idea. I'm no cinematographer, but I'm no filmmaker, but I thought I have to chronicle this. So I'm trying to, get people to move aside, help her cross quietly. I'm trying to help her cross safely. I'm trying to hold my camera horizontally, as one does, and I'm interviewing Ruth. I said, how do you feel about voting today? And she said, this is the most important vote of my lifetime.
This is hands down, without exception. And I'm talking about the First World War, the Second World War, and every other election before or since. This is it.
This is it. This is what it comes down to. And she crossed the street, and we just said to all the people in front of Lincoln Center, I said, 104 and a half year old coming through. And people just, they moved out of the way and like, woo, woo, you go. So we go to the front. We tell them, this is Ruth. She's 104. Nobody asked to see her ID at that point. We go in, and the volunteer poll workers are incredibly moved. And Ruth has to get out her license, and it says 1916. And, she was born 4 years before women had the right to vote.
Yeah.
And I just, gosh, I'm getting emotional now. Like, I just think this is, and I see my daughter holding her hand. And I just think this is history. This is history. Or as my son would say, this is herstory. And we go in, and I bring Ruth, and I can tell Ruth's a little verklempt. Like this, she's getting a lot. This is a lot for her. This is big hustle, and she's getting a lot of attention, which she doesn't mind because she'll tell you she's an Aries. But this is a lot for her. And so I bring her over to the little booth, and I look away. I very visibly look away so everybody knows I'm not directing her vote. And we walk out, and as soon as we walk out into the sunlight, hundreds of people start clapping. And Ruth stops, and she puts her head in her hands, and she just sobs. And she's so overcome with emotion about what she has just done, and about the community celebration of it. And there was this beautiful poll worker named Antonia who wanted to have a picture with her. And mind you, if you see these pictures, because they were all over social media, everybody's masked. Like it's a real sign of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
she had to sit. My husband said, Ruth, you got to sit down. Her walker turns into a little seat. And she sat there, and I took a picture of her. It's a beautiful picture of her being overcome by emotion. And then my daughter Minerva holds her hand as we walk back. And when we get back to Sesame Street in this bakery breads, and she sits down, I say, how do you feel now? And she said, I think this is why I've lived so long, so that I could cast this vote. And she said, I feel like I can die happy.
God bless America, my home, sweet home. Yes, vote.
Okay, so if you've been on the fence of whether or not to vote, I ask you to think of Ruth. Think of her 100 plus year life that she lived. Think of all she saw, she heard, she lived, she fought for, all of it before her passing. And think of her singing God Bless America, and then her final 2 words, yes, vote. Democracy depends on you, me, all of us, showing up to vote. I hope Ruth's story inspires you to show up and make history, or her story, happen. So to quote my friend that I've never met, Ruth, I just have to end with, yes, vote.